everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Kat, and for today, we're going to be taking a look at the new Nomad Cosmetics palette. This is the Whistler Snow Lodge palette, and already just the packaging I absolutely love on Nomad Cosmetics palettes. This guy has all kinds of stamps from the lodge, as well as some like homemade Nomad Lodge ones that are just absolutely adorable, like howling good time, bucking great place to stay, you mustn't lose me, for fuck's sake I'm sleeping. Absolutely love that. It's so cute. And then the color story, I think this color story might actually have the Fire and Ice palette from Nomad Cosmetics beat. It's so pretty. I mean, look at it. Like these two, like really, like, I mean, just all of them. I was about to be like, I mean, the first two rows, but then I love the blues, and then I love this. Like, I mean, just this row of like the white, the blue, and the brown, like, oh my goodness. And then the reds. Oh, it's so pretty. So the way that I normally do things for Nomad Cosmetics palettes is I like to tell you guys about different trips that I have taken, because since they are all travel themed, it's a fun way for me to like share some stories about myself for you guys to get to know me. And also if you're looking to do some trips, where are some fun places to go. And so I just like doing that while also creating some eye looks. And so we're gonna do two different eye looks, one on each eye. And so the first look is gonna combine the first two rows. And then the second look, I am going to combine most likely primarily the two blue rows. Might see about smooshing in some of this like fuchsia-y purple and then the black shade on there. But before we jump in, I will swatch all of the shimmers for you guys real quick so you can at least see those. I'm not a huge fan of swatching mattes because I have a tendency to just mess those up, but we're gonna do at least the metallics for you guys real quick. And I think I spied at least one that was a duochrome. At least it looks like it in the palette, so we'll see. First one up is Ski In, and this is just a really nice kind of champagne-y metallic. Very cute on there. Then we have Powder Specialist, which looks a bit like an iridescent. Yes. So this guy has a little bit of like what looks to be a pinkish purple undertone, primarily pink from what I'm seeing. So you can see right there as I turn my hand, there's that pinkish sheen. Really nice, gives a beautiful reflect on there. It's just a really pretty iridescent. Then we have Berry Cool, which is just a solid gold. I mean, look at that, jeez. That is just, boom, like in your face on that one. I mean, holy moly. Oh, and then we have a nice green one. This is the shade Whistler. I definitely chunked the crap out of this one. But that is just a lovely kind of mint green, but it does also look like, depending on how the light hits it, that it can go a little bit lighter or darker on there, which I really like. And so it has a bit of a deeper undertone or base to it, I think, because that is kind of unique. And then I think the sparkles on top might be a little bit more bluish, which is why you're getting that mint to kind of teal look to it. Oh man, this next one might be my favorite. This is Black Comb, and it is a beautiful navy metallic. I mean, oh, it's so pretty. And then the sparkles on it are purple. So there is that guy, and having that warmth of the purple sparkles really makes that into just a gorgeous like ocean blue. Very nice. Oh my god, really like that shade. Then we have Up to Snow Good, which is a maroon metallic. Definitely has a very nice kind of blood red base to it. And then the maroon on top, which is why it gives a little bit more of a rich red undertone to it, which is really, really nice. Then we have Ski Bum, and this is the one that I thought was at a minimum a duochrome. But it starts off with like a mix between like blue and lilac, but then also some green on there. So this is a super fun shade. So I'm seeing, oh yeah, there you go. So you've got like blue to purple, and then as I was pulling away, you can see green around the edges. That's definitely a fun shade. I think that would also just pair beautifully with this navy shade, and then maybe throwing that iridescent on top, which is probably why they're in that same region of the palette. Some of these these like shade names are very clearly puns, and this last one that is the last metallic, I was like, what does a moose have to do with anything? But it's so amused, like so amused, but I was like, so amused. Like, what is that? At least I'm pretty sometimes. But there is that. It is a really nice, deeper kind of brownish metallic with some gold undertones on it. So very nice, warm toned, almost kind of grungy brown shade, which is really, really nice. So that is all of the metallics that we have to work with in the palette, and then just a whole bunch of mattes. So we are gonna get right into these eye looks because I am super excited to start sharing with you guys some of my stories about big mountain type of stuff. So I have never been to Whistler Lodge. However, I have been to quite a few other ski resorts, as well as other just big mountain snowy type areas. And so I thought I would just share a little bit of that with you guys. So that first eye look is going to be these first 2 rows. And then the second eye look is going to be these 2 rows, and then we'll see about potentially incorporating those 3 shades into the look somehow or another, maybe, undecided. But the first one's going to be the green and brown look. All right, so the first place that I wanted to talk about is Garmisch, Germany, and that is definitely one of my favorite places to go for skiing, but also just in general. And I've been skiing now for like at least 20 years. Like I think I started back in like 7th or 8th grade, I think. And then in high school, I got my first set of skis, which I was super duper excited about. Still have them to this day, which is really, really awesome. And that was like my absolute favorite thing, was that they were having like this sale that was like the after ski season sale. And I was like, oh my God, are we actually gonna do this? And they got both, my parents got both my brother and I our own sets of like skis, poles, boots, the bindings, the bags, all of it. And so that was really, really awesome. And so I've been skiing for a really, really long time. Was on ski club in high school and in college, and like took courses. And so just been doing it for a really, really long time. So while I was in college, I took a bunch of trips to some different ski slopes around the US, primarily on the East Coast, since that was where I was mainly at. But while I was stationed in Germany, I went to Garmisch, and that was awesome because that was definitely like one of the first times that I'd ever gone skiing where it was like such big mountain skiing that you actually had to take a gondola to the top of the mountain, where it wasn't just like, oh, just take like one of the little ski lifts up and it'll get you. No, you like had to take like a 40-minute gondola ride from like the base camp up to the top of the mountain, which was like insanely high up. Like, this is one of the pictures of like the view from the top, and to say that I was mildly intimidated like doesn't even begin to explain it, because like my dad and I on this particular trip went skiing together, and like you probably should wear a helmet like all the time, but skiing on smaller slopes, you're like, nah, it's not that necessary. You're done by the time that like you blink, you're at the bottom of the slopes, right? Well, that is not the case here, and so I actually had to get a helmet to wear so that I wouldn't die while I was skiing, which is just bonkers to me. Like, I've never been on a mountain of that scale before, so the views were just absolutely gorgeous. And I will say that like to get to Garmisch, which is pretty much at like the southern edge of Germany, between Germany and Austria, and so to get to Garmisch, one of the ways you can do so is to actually drive into Austria and then come back up. And that drive and the mountains that you will see around you are just absolutely stunning. Looking at the mountains in general, you're just like, this is beyond stunning. And so oh my gosh, I would do that drive a bajillion times if I could. Because it is so, so nice. And then Garmisch is just such a cute little quaint ski village with like shops and restaurants. There was this awesome bakery where I got like mammoth sized cheesecakes and like a whole bunch of other types of cakes that they had available. And so we've had breakfast there like almost every day. And then we had this one evening where we went to a really, really nice restaurant, and because it was around like the holidays, we decided to dress up. And so I put on some of my more Bavarian style of clothing, and this particular style of clothing is what is known as Trachtenmode in Germany, and it is essentially your Bavarian style of clothes. Men will typically wear like lederhosen, but they have like a modern day style of Trachtenmode, and so that's more of what this was, which is like your business formal type of clothing. And so I had like a 3-layered suit that I ended up wearing and just absolutely loved it, because like being back in the States, I feel like looking a little weird, especially being out in Arizona, to try and pull some of that look off. And so it's probably a good thing that I was able to at least wear it there, which I absolutely loved. I really like when I'm able to embrace my German heritage and being so close to like where I was born. So I was born in Nuremberg, which is like a few hours away from where we were in Garmisch, and so I grew up with that style of clothing. And so like when I was little, I had like my own little dirndl that my parents had gotten for me. My brother had like his own little lederhosen set, and so it was super cute. And so I really enjoyed being able to get something like that, you know, in certain circumstances I feel like I could even get away with wearing for like a more dressy work scenario. I don't know, but I thought it was just so fun to do that. It's such an amazing experience because you feel so immersed in the environment and like just the views from the hotels and everything. Like just like this was just the entrance view into the one hotel that I stayed at one of the times when I went by myself. I went once with my mom and my doggos, and we stayed in this little tiny log cabin that was just absolutely like the cutest thing. And the puppers loved it because we were away from everything but had like this big walking trail that you could go on. And so they were just running around till their heart's content. And then we would just hit the mountain or go shopping. And we took a trip up to Munich, which was really, really nice because it was only like an hour north of Garmisch. And so that was really, really fun to just kind of just take a quick swing up to there. And then we had another day where we took a day trip to Salzburg, which is in Austria. And so that was really, really fun as well to get to go and see that area, because Salzburg has some amazing things to look at because it is just such a beautiful old city. And so there were monuments and all kinds of other things all over that we were able to take a look at. And it's so cool too because like with how close Garmisch is to Austria, like you can go and hit up the Austrian slopes on a particular day if you so choose, because you're literally, if you're in Garmisch, you're like almost walking distance away from Austria. And so it's super cool because you can just kind of pick and choose. Well, today I want to ski in Germany and tomorrow I want to ski in Austria. And so that was definitely kind of a fun aspect to have on there. And then you guys aren't even ready for what's going in the center of the lid for this halo eye, because we've been sticking with the green shades on the outside. But oh baby, here we go with the gold. All right, so for this first eye, I am going to tightline and throw on mascara real quick, and then we will be back and I will tell you guys about a second trip that I had gone on, which is not so much about skiing, it's more so just a really fun trip to Alaska that I did. And so if you are less about skiing but you still want to hear about another trip, the Alaska one is coming up next. All right, and we are done with the first eye, and don't mind the fact that I now also have mascara on my second eye because I'm an idiot and I wasn't paying attention, and so I just started mascaraing up the other eye, and I'm like, oh no, wait. So we'll try and work around that as we go into the next eye. But we're gonna be doing the blue eye now, and I am very excited to see how this guy goes. But I really like how this halo eye turned out. It's very smoky, but also like the gold in the center with the greens I think is super pretty. So I don't mind how this guy turned out at all. Like, if you just look at it like this, it's pretty sultry. But let's go ahead and jump into the blue now, and I think we are definitely gonna add in some of the purplish and maybe some of this magenta-y shade. Undecided so far, because that's a pretty packs a punch kind of magenta. But the next trip that I had done was a cruise that I went on with my parents, my grandfather. It's just a really fun time, and it was to Alaska, where we ended up making several different stops. And so it was super fun because we got to see a whole bunch of different portions of Alaska as we were going around. And so on one of the stops, we ended up taking some ATVs, and while getting set up for those ATVs, as I always do, I found the one dog and I made best friends with it. So that was the first thing that I did, where I was already like, this is awesome. I got to meet a super cool pooper. And then we went ATVing, and they were like, yeah, just be watchful of bears. And I was like, what now? Watchful of what? So yeah, bears and moose are definitely a thing out there, but the scenery is gorgeous. So I guess, you know, you take with it what comes. But it was really, really fun to go ATVing around. And then we went and decided to go and hang out with some sled dogs, which, contrary to popular belief, I didn't know this, but I always thought it was like huskies and Alaskan Malamutes that were sled dogs, and apparently that is not the case at all, because they are too big and they have too much weight on them. And so the sled dogs are actually like mixed breed dogs that are very light and compact. And so like you can see how they are on here, and it's just like these dogs are like no taller than my knees and very lean, but just so super strong. And they pretty much like try and expose them to as much as they possibly can from very young up. And so they were actually letting like all of us, like I got to hold a 2-week-old puppy. It like snuggled into my neck. It was like the best day ever. It was, oh my gosh. And then they had like larger puppies, and they pretty much were saying that in order to like make them super strong and be able to handle pretty much any elements and any illnesses and everything, they just from infancy have them super exposed to everything. Because like the majority of the time, like the rule of thumb, at least that I was always aware of, was that like puppies needed to be like incubated away from like other outside things until they were at least 2 months old. And so like with Falco, I wasn't able to like go and do a whole lot with him until he was like 2 months old, and then I got to take him home with me so that he could get like all of his shots. And out there they were like, nope, that's not the case at all. We want them to, you know, from right off the bat, just immediately be exposed to everything. And so I thought that was really, really interesting. And then we took a ride in one of these huge carriage things that they were pulling. I was like, how are they even pulling this? This thing is like an actual boat. But they had so much fun with it. Like they were already wanting to go and were like jumping and like, let's do this, and barking and everything while they were waiting. And you could just tell that like pulling these things was like the best part of their day. Like they absolutely loved it, and they were like getting mad that we were being delayed on like getting started. And so it was so cool to see all of that, because like just completely changed my perspective on how all of that stuff goes. And then one of the last things that we did was we actually got to take a helicopter ride up to a glacier, which was so awesome, because like you were literally just up there looking at absolutely everything, and it is like the coolest view, I mean, ever. And it just like you're walking around on top of this glacier, and like there are gaps where you can't see the bottom, and like if you slip and you fall into those gaps in the glacier, like that's it for you. Like like, you had a good go, I guess. And so at one point, like, I was fairly sure of my footing, and so I was like, I just want to lean and see what I can see over the side of it. And my dad was like, get back here, and he like grabbed me by the back of my jacket and like yoinked me back, and I was like, I was fine, I wouldn't have fallen. And he's like, you got a little too close. And so I think that's like one of the few times where I've seen my dad go into like hardcore protective mode, where he's like, I might have accidentally choked you a little bit, but I saved your life in the end. So it was like that dad strength of just like, rah! So that was kind of funny, but it was definitely really cool seeing like all of the views of everything in the helicopter, because like you're not just seeing the view of the glacier, but like also the way to get there. Like you start off at like this river water entrance thing where you're like at the base of this huge glacier, and then you like fly up past like the tree lines, and oh, it's so pretty to like look at all of it. And I was absolutely loving it. And so that was definitely one of the coolest trips that I've ever done, for sure. And it was also really, really interesting to see while we were on the cruise that it was, I think like, it was pretty close to summertime. Like I want to say it was like June time frame, and they were definitely having like their really, really long sunshine days, which I had never really experienced before. And so I was like, huh, it is 11:45 at night, and it might as well have been like 5 o'clock at night, because it was so bright out. And so the cruise liner actually had like the blackout type curtains so that you could black everything out so you could attempt to fall asleep. So that was really, really fun, because you're just like, it could be daylight as long as you want. And then like you would go to sleep, and for me, I wake up a lot. I am not a good sleeper. And so I woke up at like 1 in the morning and opened the shades, and it was like it might as well have been like 7 or 8 in the morning. Like it was on its way back to being super bright out, and I was like, oh, that's fun. But one of the other cool weather aspects of it too was that if it happened to have been like a lot of moisture in the air, the fog that would roll in was absolutely nuts. Like I have never, oh my God, this shade is gorgeous. Like this purple, oh, it is such a beautiful, I can't get over this. This is gorgeous. Little side tangent as I stare at my lid. But the fog would literally be like, so this is like the railing, right? Because we had balconies, at least my parents had a balcony like where they were staying at. And so like you could step outside and like, here's the railing for the balcony. This is my hand, and it stopped being visible here. Like I could no longer see my fingertips when they were this far past the railing. So literally like half a foot and you could no longer see your hand. Like that's how thick the fog was. And I have never, like I've been around what I thought was thick fog, where it's like maybe 100 yards down the way you can't see anymore. But I've never had it where like legit less than a foot in front of my face I can't see anything. And so that was definitely something where I was like, ah. And I think I attempted to like take a picture of it at one point, and it was just like, there might as well have just been like a white empty wall behind me, because it didn't look like anything special, because it's just me standing there with a white background, and you're like, how do I convey what this is? And so that was like the craziest thing, and I thought it was so cool. I kept like you can't see my hand. Like a child, and here I am like a 25-year-old woman at this point, just nope, I'm gonna act like a 2-year-old. Look at the fog. So that was definitely a really, really fun cruise to go on, and it all started in Canada, which was really, really cool because I had never been to Canada before. And so getting to start the whole trip off in Vancouver, which by the way is really pretty. It is a very beautiful city, and just like getting to start off there and then continue on, I mean, it was super cool. And so like I definitely really enjoyed that whole trip because it was so much fun. There were so many awesome things to go and do, and the food as well. Like if you are a fan of food, like especially fish food, you will love it up there because I mean the salmon, first off, that's a given. Like Alaskan salmon is some of the best, and then I am a huge crab lover, and Alaskan king crab legs are just some of the best. Like they're like, you can't, like they're as big as my arm, and they are so full of crab meat, and I love it. Like if I had to choose one food to just survive on for the rest of my life, it would be crab. But then when you get into Anchorage, there is one particular place that I would highly recommend going to if you enjoy pizza, and that is called Moose's Tooth. And that pizza is probably some of the best pizza that I have ever had in my entire life. It is so delicious. Just all of the different toppings that you could possibly want. And I mean, just, oh, it's so good, and it's huge, like these huge pies, and the crust is so good, and oh my goodness. So yeah, I stopped off there to try and visit with a friend of mine that was stationed up there at the time, and so we all got to meet up, and that was really awesome. And we all decided to go get pizza while we were there because of course. And so we stopped off at that place, and it was really tasty. And so if you guys are ever in the Alaska area and you have some time and you'll enjoy pizza, go to Moose's Tooth. Last little bit on the inner corner, I think we're gonna do the powder blue, and then we're gonna throw that that iridescent shade on top as the final touch for this guy. All right, and we are back with both looks, and I am looking very like lopsided on here because this is so much more of like smoky, and then this is like a wider eye, but I'm gonna come in close so you guys can see everything. So definitely on this one, the star of the show is that purple to blue shimmer. I mean, it is so gorgeous. And then on this eye, I really love the gold to green on the lid. I think that's super beautiful. All of the shades blended together beautifully. I mean, just like a dream as always. The shimmers went on really nice. I mean, you can use your finger like I did just to really get that pow, or you can just use a dry brush like I did on my right eye, and I absolutely love this palette. I think that the color story is gorgeous. I will say, I think it's my second place palette. I think that the Fire and Ice palette is still my #1, but this is a very close #2 because the shades are just absolutely gorgeous. But I would love to know what you guys think of everything. What do you think of the stories? Do you guys have any fun ski trip or just mountain stories in general where you guys have done some awesome travels? I would love to hear about it, where you guys went. Let me know where I should try and travel to next. And let me know what you thought of the metallic swatches. They are still bright and shiny even like half hour later, so really nice. And I would love to know what you guys think. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you did not, as we always do here. And if you made it to the end of the video and you have not yet subscribed, I would highly suggest subscribing. We are coming very close to 1,000 subscribers, and I am absolutely going to be doing a huge indie brand giveaway for you guys when we hit 1,000. So we are about 50 away, so probably in the next month we're going to be having a huge giveaway, and so if you want to be a part of that, make sure you subscribe. But other than that, you guys just go have a good one.